coming with another edition of This Day in African American Baseball History, or This Day in Black Baseball History, whatever you want to call it. And today is the October 11th, 2025 edition of This Day in African American Baseball History. So what I do, in case you've never seen me before, is I talk about things that happened historically on this day, and then I add some commentary that comes from my 45 plus years of being an African American baseball historian. So I do that. Let me get a drink of water right quick. Yeah. So I do that. And of course, at the end of my segment, I recently added 2 new additions, and it's called Comings and Goings. So I talk about people who were born on this date that had something to do with baseball, preferably the Negro Leagues, or maybe as an African American player. Or the other thing is someone who passed away on this date, and I'll tell you a little bit about them, okay? So let's jump right in here. We're gonna get this broadcaster rolling. So just wanna thank everybody who's joining me live and those who may pick me up later on. And we have a lot of fun here. We talk about baseball, and you just be amazed the history that I can give from 45 years of being around this topic. Okay, so let's go to the first thing we have here, and it's we're going to go back to 1914, so October 11th, 1914. And on that date, Walter Johnson of the Washington Senators, pitching for the New York Fire Department, is handed a 2-0 loss by the Lincoln Stars of New York at New York's Lincoln, let's say actually the Lenox Oval, before a crowd of 6,000. And Bull, also nicknamed Gunboat, Thompson of the Stars, struck out 13 compared to Walter Johnson's 8. Okay, let's break that one down. First of all, Walter Johnson. Walter Johnson played a number of games over the years against African American teams. And so we've been fortunate to talk about several here, especially in the preseason and the postseason. So he pops up quite a bit. We recently talked about a game where he pitched against Frank Wickware in Schenectady, New York, and the Schenectady Mohawk Giants. That was a few days ago. So today we're talking about him. He's in New York City, and he's playing against the Lincoln Stars. Now, you know, there was also a Lincoln Giants, too. So you probably heard of Vince McMahon, the wrestling guy, WWF, somebody knows, WWE, which one is it? Somebody knows. And anyway, this was his grandfather who was managing or operated the team of African American baseball stars in 1914. So anyway, he was able to get Walter Johnson to come over, and he pitched for the team. And just imagine this guy, Gunboat Smith. We don't know a lot about Gunboat, but we do know that on October 11, 1914, he beat Walter Johnson. Now, Walter Johnson is a member of the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame, but we don't know much about Thompson. And on this day, Thompson outpitched the legendary Walter Johnson, and that's not the first time it happened when he faced an African American baseball team. And Walter Johnson had great respect for these teams. As a matter of fact, he said that Frank Wickware, a right-hander, was superior to any right-hander that he knew in the American and National Leagues. And he said that, when he said that, he said, I don't mean to insult people like Christy Matheson, but he actually made that statement, and it appears in several publications, primarily in Frank Wickware's hometown, which is, actually he was born in Girard, but he was raised in Coffeyville, Kansas. So it appeared in the Coffeyville Journal. And Frank Wickware's dad was a custodian at the Journal. So whenever Frank did something, he would write him, and then his dad would get over to the sports guy. So you find all these great accounts about Frank Wickware's career in the Coffeyville newspaper. And that included Walter Johnson coming to town and making these statements about the legendary Frank Wickware, who I happen to think was a pretty good pitcher. Won 40 games in 1910, guys. And so just want to let you know about him. So that's a historic event that happened on this day. Let's jump a little bit to 1921. October 11, 1921. The Kansas City Monarchs lose to the All-Nationals at Bethany, Missouri by a 4-3 score, with Babe Adams pitching for the All-Nationals. 1,500 people attended the game. By the way, 6,000 people attended the game in New York, and a small town of Bethany, you have 1,500. And that's still a good crowd. Now, I've appeared in Bethany, spoken there before, and so it's a great little town. Interesting thing, I write about Bethany in my book of the Dizzy and Daffy Dean Barnstorming Tour, Race, Media, and America's National Pastime, because the Monarchs Dizzy Dean played the Monarchs in Kansas City, and the next game was in Des Moines, Iowa. And so if you're going to Des Moines, you go right up that highway past Bethany. And so they stopped Dizzy and Daffy to have breakfast, and they left their hat. I think Daffy left his hat there anyway. That became a collector's item for someone in Bethany. I wonder what happened to it, but that was 1934, and the Dean brothers are at the peak of their career. So Daffy left his hat in Bethany. So I've been there many times, past it many more times going to places. I think Bethany is up 35, Highway 35, if I'm correct. I make a lot of trips up 29 and 35. 29 will take you into Omaha, and then I think 35, that's the one that will take you into Des Moines. Coming out of Kansas City, and I speak regularly in those areas. So anyway, Bethany, Missouri, and you got the Kansas City Monarchs, and Babe Adams. Who is Babe Adams? Babe Adams, sometimes his name, it doesn't come up much anymore, but it used to come up as for Hall of Fame consideration. And I want to say that he won 3 games in the 1903 World Series. Somebody help me out on that one. He pitched for the Pirates, and he was a legendary pitcher himself. So he actually beat the Kansas City Monarchs by a 4-3 score. Now, years later, the Kansas City Monarchs played Babe Adams, and he was pitching for Springfield. The Springfield Midgets, I think that's what it was. And so anyway, they tore him up later on, but on this day, he got the best of the Kansas City Monarchs in the little town of Bethany, Missouri. Somebody's been there besides me, so just want to let you know about that. Let's go to another one here. October 11th, 1933. Charlie Beverly, that's one of my favorite guys, he whiffed 14 Major League All-Stars at Oklahoma City's Texas League Park in a 3-0 win. Beverly issued 2 hits to Paul Wainer and Forrest Jensen, and then Newt Allen, his teammate, went 3 for 4 with a triple and stole a base. I can break this down. I will tell you, I was recently speaking in a city called Park City, Kansas, and that night a guy came up to me, this is probably in the last year and a half ago, and it was Forrest Jensen's son. He was probably in his late 80s, and he wondered if I knew his dad. And of course, I did know who his dad was. I think sometimes because I'm an African American, people don't realize that I know so much about baseball history, but I'm a student of the game historically. And so when you try to slide a baseball player past me, I might say it's like trying to sneak daylight past a rooster, because, man, I know a whole lot of guys and a whole lot of names that people will try to slip past me, especially on the major league side. I get a lot of questions, do you know so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so? And there'll be guys from these small towns who went on and played in the National American League, some on minor league baseball. You never know when they'll come up in my history or when they come up playing against any African American team through the years in that region or in that town. So yeah, no, you end up knowing a lot of guys. So anyway, yeah, Forrest Jensen's son. Of course, later on, I interviewed Newt Allen. Knew him very well. Newt Allen, the great second baseman for the Kansas City Monarchs. I also played shortstop for them for a little period after Dobie Moore was injured and his career ended. They switched Newt Allen over to shortstop. So he played pretty good shortstop too. Newt Allen had that great arm. Newt Allen could stand on the base of the center field, deepest part of center field ball, and throw the ball home on a fly. But he was your second baseman. Just a super talented guy. And yeah, he lived in Kansas City, stayed on Park Street, here in Kansas City, Missouri. I knew his wife. I knew his son very well too. And through the years, all of them have passed away. And there's a great picture of Newt Allen where he has a uniform that says Monarchs mine and the arcs on the other side. And that picture I got from his wife. And that's a pretty famous picture. That was one that I added to the genre of Negro League Baseball history. I probably won't ever get credit for it, believe me. That's one that I added to the legacy, all right? By just getting out there and digging and talking to people. And of course, I lived in Kansas City, so I didn't try, I don't think I missed anybody in Kansas City. So Newt Allen was one. Later on, Newt Allen ended up moving to Cincinnati, and he was in Cincinnati when he passed away. And when Newt Allen passed away, I freelanced articles periodically for different newspapers, and I wrote this great article about Newt Allen in the Kansas City Call. And that was one of my longest articles I had written. It's probably one of the longest newspaper articles I've ever written, next to the obituary that I wrote in the St. Louis American about Cool Papa Bell when he passed away. So I try to chronicle the history the best I can, and not only talk about it, I try to be about it, I try to write about it, and I travel all over the place to talk about it. So that's what I do, and if you know me, you know that these are things that I enjoy doing. And I always tell people, I don't have a job, I have a passion. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. All right, so that was Charlie Beverly. Charlie Beverly, like one of the great pitchers. He was a lefty, and Charlie Beverly, I always like to say, he was as good as Satchel Paige during that period, but he had none of the colorfulness that Satchel Paige had. Beverly just came out there and didn't say much and just strike out a bunch of guys and just walk away. And Chet Brewer talked highly about Charlie Beverly, and he knew him well. And so a lot of the things I learned about Charlie Beverly came from either Newt Allen or Charlie Beverly. I'm trying to think who else that I interviewed that knew Beverly well. Willie Wells, George Giles, and all those people played with Charlie Beverly, and I knew them well. Quincy Troop, Coach Beverly. I interviewed Quincy Troop about Charlie Beverly. So anyway, yeah, Charlie Beverly, if you don't know much about him, keep looking him up. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. These are some of the legends of the Negro Leagues. And Charlie Beverly, especially when it comes into postseason, he used to tear these major leaguers up. And so he appears in the mid-30s in a lot of different exhibition games against National and American League players. And he usually walked away with a bunch of strikeouts. All right. So let's go to the next one. This is the last one I have, and then I'm going to go to the next segment. But it's October 11th. Actually, no, that was the last one. So let's go to the next segment. This is the coming and going segment. So this is going to be a coming segment. Okay, October 11, 1911. Lloyd Ducky Davenport, outfielder for the Cincinnati Tigers and Memphis Red Sox, was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeah, I remember, man. 1983, I went to New Orleans. I was looking for two people specifically, and one of those people was Lloyd Ducky Davenport. And he was still alive at that time. I could not find him, and I was doing a road trip across the country. And I think when I left Gulfport, I headed up to Jackson or Hattiesburg, somewhere like that. But I went back into Mississippi, and I had come across from Alabama. So yeah, Lloyd Ducky Davenport. I know that part of the country very well. As some of you know, I'm a musician, so is a young man. We used to leave Kansas City. We would go down there, play that Gulf area there quite a bit. Pascagoula. We went to Mobile. Where we go? Where else went down there? Oh man, I have to think about it. It's been over 50 years ago, but yeah, we were down. We were in Pascagoula all the time, and Gulfport, and then it leads right into New Orleans. So I had a chance to get down there as a musician, and then later come back doing baseball history. So that's it. Let me get a little light here. All right. Okay. So that's a coming, and of course, passing away on this date, October 11, 1936, Fred Bell. Age 34. He was the older brother of James Cool Papa Bell, older than Cool Papa Bell by 1 year. Played for the Detroit Stars, also played for the St. Louis Giants as well. And Cool Papa Bell had a lot to say about him. Now, if you go back to the very first lives that I did about 3 months ago. I did 3 on James Papa Bell. And in those lives, I talk about Fred in detail. And one thing that always sticks with me, Fred had a hard time getting his money, I think from Detroit. And he was a pitcher, getting his money from Detroit. So he just quit the team, and Papa said he became a trash man. So it was tough going for these guys. But you know what? I'm so proud that so many of them stuck in there and they played baseball because they purely love the game. Surely we should give them more recognition for what they did, especially if you're a baseball fan and you really praise this great pastime. Don't forget about those old blackface pros. Some of them were the stars that did not shine. All right. So we're going to go to one last one here today, and I just want to thank everybody for hanging with me as long as you could. I understand people can't always spend 20 minutes with you, but if you spend 5 minutes with me, I thank you for that. All right. If you spend 2 minutes with me, I'm thankful for that. But I'm really thankful if you hit that bell and subscribe and maybe share this broadcast to a few friends of yours who you know are baseball fans. All right. The final one is a final going. Okay. This is the going. October 11, 1972. All right. I'm born then. And it's John Leonard Jones. His nickname was Casey. Age 76, formerly of the 1931 Homestead Grays and other teams, died in Chester, Pennsylvania. And born in Houston, Texas, he lived in Chester for over 50 years. At the time of his death, his grandchildren numbered 54. And he is buried in Green Lawn Cemetery in Chester Township. I wrote about him quite a bit in my book, The 1931 Homestead Grays. And at that particular time, I had never found him. I knew he played, but with a name like Jones, people with names like Williams and Jones and those kind of people, Smith, another hard one, they can be difficult to locate. So I had a hard time locating him, but I was doing some research and I was looking for something else through newspapers online, and it popped in. I was looking for something else that happened in Chester, Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, I find him. And so I sent that information, and I haven't checked to see if they updated it in the baseball statistics. Maybe you can do that, guys. If not, I'm going to send them another email to make sure they do, because this guy had 54 grandchildren at the time of his death. Somebody in his family wants to know that he played in the Negro Leagues, and they would be proud to know that he was on the 1931 Homestead Grays, the team that I think was as powerful a baseball team as any team ever assembled. And that includes teams like the 1905 New York Giants, the 1927 Yankees. Matter of fact, I like the 1931 Homestead Grays better than I like the 1927 New York Yankees. And when I was growing up, guys, the New York Yankees of 27 was supposed to be the team that nobody could surpass. But believe me, if you read my book on the 1931 Homestead Grays, you're going to get a second opinion. There was a tremendous team. And John Leonard Jones was a part of that team. He played for other teams in the Negro Leagues too. And but just know that he was a real ball player, and he contributed mightily to that team. So that does it for me tonight. I'm watched a little football today. We're in October, so there's more football. And so you're going to start to get some more football things from me. I may even talk later on about Pete Hill playing football and Nate Harris. They were teammates. I played football in Pittsburgh. A lot of people don't know Pete Hill played football. Yeah, but he did, 1905, 1906. So anyway, lots of good stuff to come. I just appreciate everybody who follows me. And I will tell you this, in closing, today I was down at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and they had Geddy Lee from Rush came down and gave a interview in his new book, and he signed probably about 500 books today. Who knows how many he signed. The place was packed. Man, you guys who support Rush really showed up. And so that was quite the thing. I may post in my Facebook. I just scanned the audience a couple of times, and I'll put some music with it. Maybe I'll find a Rush song, put some music with it, and share that. That's a good idea. I just spoke that one up. So anyway, guys, that does it for me tonight. And so I'll see you tomorrow, and we're going to keep this going. This day in African American baseball history with commentary by author historian Phil S. Dixon. Thank you. That's Phil S. Dixon. And you can look me up on various social medias, and also you can find my my webpage as well. Okay. Thank you. You have a nice day.